nobody doing it like us. Alrighty, welcome back everybody to another episode of Credo Conversations. Today is a very special episode. We've taken a long time off from actually doing one-on-one conversations with everybody. Obviously everyone has their own thing going on right now. As you can see, we're in a new spot and we are with the owner of Lift Training, Dennis Kefalinos. He is the owner of this place. He started this place and kind of dragged me along for the ride, and I wanted him to kind of get on here and tell us everything about this place, right? So let's start to the beginning,
Okay,
Dennis.
I just want to, I want to correct, I'm one of the owners.
One of the owners, yes, true.
Like I'm the co-owner.
Okay,
So
sorry, you're right. Co-owner, I'm sorry. Co-owner.
Yeah.
Him and Diane
Right.
Davidson are the part owners of this place. Dennis, Diane was obviously not around today, so that's why Dennis is speaking on behalf of both of them, so I apologize for that. Yeah. Dennis and Diane, let's go way back, Dennis. Let's go way back. All right, let's talk about, before you even got into the idea, or even having the idea of opening up a spot,
Right.
What brought you here, man? What brought you here?
I can go way back. I'm an engineer. I went to school to become an engineer. Worked for a variety of companies. I worked for an automotive startup. I worked for a utility. I worked for, I went and did my MBA at Northeastern, and that was like the first kind of transformation, you could say, sort of in my life, because I always kind of had like a bit of a business mindset. My father had a restaurant growing up, and so I knew what it was like and understood what it was like to own a small business, run a small business. The pressures and the pressures and the joys and the heartache of owning a small business.
Yep.
I was familiar with.
Yep.
But then when I went to business school, that really sort of opened up my eyes. And at that point, I said, okay, I've been an engineer. By then, I'd been working as an engineer for like eight years, and I said I want to do something else. And then I wanted to get into software. So once I did my business degree, I went into software, started selling software mainly to large corporations. I worked for some pretty big companies, but actually kind of doing like consulting.
Yep.
So I had to understand I wasn't just a pure salesman, but it was more like sales consulting, which is what I continue to do today. So today I work for. So yes, I'm one of the co-owners of the gym, but I still work. I still have a full-time job. I work for a company called Stripe that does credit card processing, and that's super fun. And we do a lot of interesting projects there. But so the first transformation was when I got my business degree. Actually, the second transformation sort of happened actually once I got to Stripe, because Stripe is all about helping small businesses. Helping small businesses get paid, really. And what I realized is that there's so many tools out there to help people run businesses, get paid, collect their money, run their business, all of that. And so all of that made it a lot more attainable. And I could now visualize it. And so when the opportunity came up to start Lyft, at that point, I said, "This is the right time to do it."
Yeah. So before we even get into when we started Lyft, what was it that kind of implemented that gene of hard work in you? I know you said your father owned a restaurant. Was it seeing him own a restaurant? Because I know the ins and outs, not really, closely related to me owning restaurants, but I know a lot of people that do own restaurants, and I know what it takes to actually keep one running, even just get it started and just have any sort of success in that field. Is that kind of what implemented the hard working, person inside of you? Or
well, I think so. I mean, I think my parents, I think like a lot of my parents came from Greece in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, okay,
So, like a lot of immigrant families, first generation families where the parents came from the old country.
Yep.
Everyone really understood hard work.
Absolutely.
You know, they came over. They could barely speak the language. They didn't have a lot of money. It was all about hard work and getting ahead. And so, I understood that. The
And
rest,
you were born. You weren't born in the United States, right?
no. We grew up. My parents went to Montreal.
Okay, yeah, Montreal.
So I was born and raised in Montreal.
Okay.
And it was funny, like growing up, my parents, my dad specifically for the restaurant, like he said, I don't want you to own a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to go to school, want you to get a degree, and hold don't hold down these crazy hours and all these crazy things that I have to deal with at a restaurant. And then and I believed that, and I understood that.
Yes.
I understood what he was trying to do. And I knew that restaurant business was really difficult.
Absolutely.
Like I knew I didn't want to, the restaurant was open from 10 a.m. till 2 in the morning, 7 days a week.
Wow.
You know, and so, and I spent so much time in that restaurant.
Yeah.
I made so many pizzas. I ate so many pizzas. It was.
So you got to see it from like first row. Saw how it goes.
Yeah.
And what goes into it.
It was tremendous. I mean, and, you're running that whole operation. My dad was running that whole operation in his head, and like I didn't, at times, but he was good for it.
Yeah.
Because he was calm. Like there could be chaos at the restaurant, and he was, he never really brought any of that home, which was really which made it. I think that really helped him run that restaurant. I knew that I didn't want to run a restaurant, but I did always like the fact, once I got to working for companies and stuff, I did realize that my dad never had a boss.
Yep.
Didn't have a boss, didn't have to report to anyone, except my mom, maybe. But
besides that.
but my mom, and so it was like, when you work for a company or you work for someone else, there's always pressures from the boss.
Absolutely.
And, so that was part of the trade-off. And so I think I always, and then I just had like a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit in my mind. Like there were things I thought I wanted to do along the way, like make things and sell them online and stuff like that. But none of that ever really took off. And so again, when this opportunity came up, and I'd been working out and training at a local gym, when this opportunity came up, I said, "This is within reach.
Mm-hmm.
We can really do this."
Now, was gym owning something that was in the back of your mind, growing? Maybe not growing up, but as you're going through your career and experiencing different companies and different positions and different people, was it something that you've always kind of wanted to do in the back of your head, or was it like this opportunity is way too perfect to not jump on?
Yeah, it was never really there.
Wow.
And like I had, I've been working out, since I was, a teenager, and then joined various gyms, and I never said to myself, this is something I want to do, until like a few years ago, I was training at the gym that I used to belong to, and then I decided, I think I can become a coach. Yeah. Because I was just interested in it. It was fun, and I said, well, maybe I'll become a coach and I'll get a break on membership costs, and that was the only thing that was in my mind.
Wow.
And then once I started coaching, I'm like, okay, this is okay, and you got members, and you got then you start once you became a coach, now you understood a different side of it.
Absolutely.
Again, that was yet another sort of change in mindset. Was I'm not just a member now, I'm a coach, and these people come here and they expect to get a certain experience. They want to get a good workout. They're relying on me to do that, and so just kind of by stepping into it a little bit, I began to understand what it really meant to offer this kind of service to people. And so again, it started to get closer.
Yeah, absolutely. So it all started pretty much from you enjoyed fitness to then just, you're a very intelligent person. I feel like always wants to learn new things from what I've gotten from you for the time I've spent with you, and going into from one end of the spectrum to coaching on the other end of the spectrum, to kind of seeing the business side of the whole entire ordeal, to then thinking, I can do this. Let's see what I can do in this area that I'm at.
I can do this. It's not a restaurant that's open like 24 hours a day. I don't need to order. This is how I began to compare it to a restaurant. I don't need to order food. I don't need to worry about food going bad.
Yeah.
You're open and you're doing things for a few hours a day. Everyone comes here to feel good. That was another thing, is that gyms are just a place where people go to feel good.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it was just so positive, I said, this is something that I could really enjoy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now we're at the point in the story where we're looking at gyms, you're having the idea of what you want to do and what you kind of want to build, I guess.
Yeah.
Take us from step one
Yeah.
to sitting at this table right now having a conversation with me.
Okay.
What are the steps? How do we get here?
Oh my gosh.
Maybe in a shortened version, right?
Yeah,
exactly. If you had to, we could. I mean, you make a lot of money on it too. I'm just saying. But what is the first step you took, and then the little steps along the way to get us to where we are right now?
I'll try to summarize it real fast. So the gym I was working at went up for sale.
Yeah.
And I thought about it at first, and I said, okay, let's do it. I spoke to one of the other coaches who was there, which was Diane.
Yep.
And I said, Diane, let's buy this gym together. Yep. And she agreed, and we tried to buy it, but we were not successful. But in the meantime, we had done all kinds of planning and math and arithmetic and thinking about marketing and what are we going to do. And we were really, what I liked about working with Diane was we were really super aligned on how we wanted to build relationships with people, what we wanted to offer as a gym, how we wanted to run it, policies of how do we treat people, how do we treat employees. We were really well aligned. We tried to buy the gym, that didn't work out. We had done all this homework, and when the purchase of the other gym didn't work out, we said, screw it, let's just start our own.
Let's keep looking.
So we basically the first thing that we really needed to do was get a place.
Yep.
So we started talking to landlords. Basically, we started looking online for a place to rent, that had a decent amount of space. Like the gym here is like 3,700 square feet. So we were looking at somewhere around that size. That was really the number one. Finding the place was really the number one thing, because once you sign a lease, you're kind of like, it's happening.
Yep.
And you need to start paying at some point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's when it becomes real. Like, we had been talking about all kinds of things. We were talking about marketing. We were talking about the program. What kind of program are we going to run? Who are the coaches? We were talking to coaches because we were going to need staff. How are we going to, what's our sign going to look like? Our logo. We were talking about all of this stuff, and then this location materialized. Now, we had seen a few other places. We thought those were going to be the ones, and that was probably the biggest sort of roller coaster.
Yeah.
Was where were we going to sign a lease and be? And then we thought it was going to be one place, and then that fell through, and then we thought it was another place, and then that fell through, and the emotions were like, yeah, and then oh no, and then yeah, no, and then finally this place came together right toward the end.
Yep.
And then once we signed the lease, it was like, it's go time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now everything that we've been talking about becomes real.
Absolutely.
So at that point, once we knew we were going to sign a lease, first thing we did was we went to the state and we incorporated.
Yep.
We formed a little business, a little partnership. Everything was going to be kosher. Then we had to get all kinds of various kinds of insurance.
I was going to ask you on the legality part.
Yeah.
When it comes to insurances and LLCs or licensing and all that stuff, how does that go about, right?
Yeah. So
I don't think people really think about that when it comes to owning a spot. They just want kind of the look and show that they own a spot, but they don't understand all of the legalities that go on behind the scenes, right? So how is that navigated?
Well, I mean, I just think that you're running a business, you're providing a service. It's a personal service.
Yeah.
People can get hurt.
Yep.
And so the building can burn down.
Yep.
So you need to protect yourself against people getting hurt. You need to protect yourself against the building coming down. You need to protect yourself against theft and fire and all this other stuff. And then the landlord may have additional requirements put on you, like, because say we burn the gym down, the restaurant attached next door, if they burn down too, now what's going to pay for that?
Exactly.
So all of a sudden you realize that that there's a lot that you want to, a lot of eventualities that you need to cover yourself for.
Yep.
And insurance can be expensive, but it's also peace of mind.
Exactly. It's
Peace of mind, and like any good operation is going to be well covered to make sure that you can deal with, someone falls and hurts himself, or a piece of equipment hurts them, or, something breaks. So you just want to be covered for all that.
So when did you know? So when was it where it was like, this is real? Like, this is what we're doing. We signed the, like, how did that process come about? Not the entire process, but, when you're sitting down with Diane and saying, everything is set in stone now, we're ready to go. What was that like? What was that?
So that was the day. So we incorporated our business like at the end of the month. And then about two and a half weeks later, we were going back and forth with the landlord to come to agreement on terms on the lease. Because they say you're going to pay this much and you're responsible for these things, and we say, well, we don't want to be responsible for those things. We want you to be responsible, and we're going back and forth, and then finally we get to agreement, sign. Once we have, and then they say, okay, as soon as you show us your insurance, we'll give you the keys. So we show them the insurance that we had to pay for, keys, and we went, once we incorporated, we went to the bank, put our money, Diane and I partnered, and we dumped our money in the bank, and we've got a bank account. So like once we incorporated, now we're a real company. Then you go to the bank and you get a bank account that has the company name on it. And then you sign a lease and you've got a space. You're a legitimate entity. You're an entity now.
Absolutely.
And now you can hire people. You can pay people. You can go. Okay, now you got to go to the electric company and sign up for the electric account, the gas bill, internet, Wi-Fi. You want to get all that stuff. Now you got your money. The minute we signed the lease, we placed the order for our equipment.
Absolutely.
Because we had all, because that was once we signed the lease, the next concern is how fast can we get equipment in here? So we went online and ordered all our equipment, ordered it all from Rogue. That was a big expense. We had to wait for that, but then that stuff arrived in about a week and a half, a little less than 2 weeks. It all arrived, and then once the equipment arrived, it was all about putting it all together.
It was ready to go.
It was just putting it all together and just emptying out there was so much trash.
That was the biggest thing.
I mean, I think we could move all this equipment with a lot less hassle than it was unpacking.
And how many pounds of equipment did you get?
14,000 pounds of equipment.
14,000 pounds of equipment. People don't even fathom like how much actual stuff we had in your inbox.
Two truckloads.
Ridiculous.
2 truckloads of equipment.
Absolutely ridiculous. And when you first were like, okay, this is real now, we did it, everything is set in stone, ready to go. What were your initial feelings like? Were you more nervous? Were you like, oh my God, did I bite off too much that I could chew? What was it like?
Not too much. Well, I think like I said, once you signed the lease, then it became, oh man, this is real. And so there was like a high stress period from the time we signed the lease to the time we opened was 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
3 weeks, and then sign the lease, order the equipment, receive the equipment, unpack it all, set it all up. And in the meantime, we did all this other stuff in the background for accounts, and then our accounting and our gym software. So there was a lot of stuff going on right
Absolutely.
There. And so that was stressful. We set our opening date, in early May, and really it was all about making sure we could hit our opening date, be ready, be professionally ready to receive clients on that. It was all about opening day.
Absolutely.
And making sure we could get clients. And then, of course, the other obvious thing is advertisement. Social media. You were brought on. You helped with a lot of that. And just getting the word out, getting clients in the door and starting to sign up for memberships.
Absolutely. So what I get from you a lot, Dennis, is because I'm always someone who's a very high stress person, and when I have a lot of things going on at the same time, it's tough for me to compartmentalize. And I feel like you're very good at compartmentalizing separate problems and finding a solution to one before you go on to the other. Finding what, you know what I mean? And I think that's a very key attribute for anyone who's looking to start a gym. Do you agree with me on that when it comes to it? Or
I do think
you're just suppressing your emotions, right?
Well, you got. I believe me. We all let out our emotions at many points, but I think that really for the gym, it was all about getting organized.
Yeah.
Getting organized. We had checklists of everything. I think you saw them. We had checklists of everything that we wanted to get done, due dates. It's just about sitting down and planning. There's you can't. There's a saying that says you can't schedule your way out of a bad plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't create a bad plan, no amount of changing things around is gonna save you from the fact that you should have done something like 3 weeks ago in order for it to be ready today.
That's a great point.
So take the time to stop and think about what is it you need to do, and talk to people.
Yeah.
Talk to people, because there's a lot of, obviously online there's so many resources out there, but talk to people about what is it that you need to do, and what is it that you need to think about if you're gonna go into this venture.
And that's why I think this conversation is so important, because obviously, we've been in this field for a little bit, and we know a lot of people that have this grand old idea of opening the doors to some place and having it run as smoothly as, Gold's Gym down the street or whatever the case is. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows like that. And I think having someone like you who honestly did it from not having an idea for years and years and years, and working your way to that one goal, more or less just, okay, this is what we're going to do. I set a goal, and you did it the right way. And I think you have a lot of attributes that a lot of people should, kind of take for themselves and realize and understand that if you don't go about it in not the exact same way as you, but at least having that same sort of, calm, cool, collective demeanor. And when you're going about it in the organization, like you said, and in the process in which you do things, and obviously building a good team around you too, which was huge. And asking for help. Asking for help too. I think all those things are what people need to really understand about this, and not just, I have $100,000 in my bank account. Let's just go purchase a place, right? Because that's where I think people get that disconnect from.
No, well, you mentioned something that I should have said earlier. What really was the team.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone who wants to go into business, you flip into this mode of being an entrepreneur and trying to create something from nothing.
Yeah.
Basically, you have ideas, you have ideas in your head, and you want to create something out of them. And I certainly have to give props to my partner Diane, because like you said, not everyone's going to approach things the same way.
Absolutely.
And Diane and I approach things completely in a different way. I'm more like analytical, methodical. Step through certain things, make sure certain things. And Diane is, I would say she's very intuitive.
Yes.
Very intuitive. She understands people, understands how people think, and I think when we pair those two things together, we end up with a good combination, and we balance each other off. At the same time, we had folks like our head coach Ryan, yourself, our other coach Ricky. We have a few others, and like you when you joined, you brought a number of ideas, and we just needed all we needed to do was just sit in, bring in those ideas, figure out the right way to mesh them all together, but also give everyone sort of an opportunity. We wanted to function. That was another sort of philosophy that we had, which was, let's function as a team.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's function as a team. Let's listen to all the inputs. We don't know everything. We've never done this before.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I left something out. So when we first decided, okay, we're going to do this on our own, and we were talking to this landlord, one of the things we needed to do, like landlords just don't, hey, I want to rent this place. Okay, no problem. Here, sign a lease and go.
Absolutely.
They say, well, why should I bring you in here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Dan and I had to do a presentation.
Yeah.
We didn't know we were going to do a presentation.
Yeah.
But they called us in for a meeting, and we said, we better prepare a presentation because they're gonna look to us and say, who are you? They don't know us from a hole in the wall. Who are you? What's your business going to be? What are you going to do? How are you going to make money? Are you going to be successful?
Yeah.
Are you going to be successful, or am I the landlord going to have a vacant spot here again in another few months? They didn't want that.
Yeah.
So we had to give them a presentation. We had to convince them.
Yeah.
And they asked us, have you ever done this before?
Yeah.
And we were like, no, we've never done this before.
Yeah.
But here's our plan. And we bought the plan, and so they bought the plan, and so The other thing I think people need to recognize is an entrepreneur is a salesman.
Absolutely.
Bit of a salesman. You have to sell people on your idea.
Yeah.
To get funding if you need, if you need to do that. In this case, we didn't necessarily need funding, but we needed endorsement by the landlord to say you can come in. And then you need to sell your product.
Yeah.
You got to be proud of what you're doing and fully bought into what it is you're doing, and people see and sense that passion, and that helps convince.
So even if what you're saying too is like, even if the product is everything is great, 100% on the product side, but you don't show that you're as competent as you should be, they still won't give you the spot, right? It doesn't really necessarily matter just about the product. It's the product and the individual too.
It's the product. The landlord 100% is buying into the tenants.
Yep.
Who are these people? Do they have a plan? Do we trust them that they're going to be able to execute on this? And they, and afterwards they told us, after we opened, they said, we weren't sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they weren't sure, but we managed to convince a couple of people at the landlord, and essentially they became our sort of our advocates.
Yeah.
And they pushed and they said we should let this team go and let them rent the space.
That's awesome.
And now they're all pleased.
Wow.
They're happy. So that was probably one of the wins. Obviously opening, doing our opening, having people come in, just seeing the gym completed was a huge win.
Absolutely.
But then hearing after the fact that they were unsure about us, but people believed in us, and they supported us, and now they're happy with the results. That felt good for Diana.
Absolutely, especially when you have to believe in yourself too, and believe in your product, and believe that what you're doing is going to work, even if you're saying it and you don't really believe it. I feel like that kind of clashes with each other. So you really have to truly believe within yourself before you can present to them that this idea that we have is going to work. It's just a matter of, will someone believe in us, right?
Right.
You just have, but it all starts with you believing in yourself and in whatever business model you're going to go with.
That's right.
I think that's awesome, and I think it's such a great story of, just an unconventional way of ending up somewhere where you never thought you'd be, but you're happy you are. You know what I mean? So
happy we are.
I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome, Dennis. So now let's get into, and we don't have to talk about specific numbers that you had or that you needed to deal with, but for the person that's watching this that maybe is like, I want to do that when I get older. This is exactly what I want to do. What startup costs? Because ideas, everyone has ideas. It's unlimited. In terms of funding, money, just really getting the ball rolling. What do you think an initial startup price should be for anybody and it doesn't have to be a 3,800 square foot place, but even just, a small place.
It could be a small place. So, let's just say it's any kind. It could be anything, if you're going to have a storefront, I don't care if you're selling t-shirts, shoes, you want to open a convenience store or a small restaurant. There's a lot of startup costs, and you have to account for everything that you're going to need. Like this gym, needed a turf. Yeah. It needed a rubber floor. All this stuff wasn't here.
Yeah.
When they first set it up. So obviously we needed all of our equipment.
Yep.
And then you have to plan for. Basically, you gotta figure out the math of how much money are you going to need. What are you going to pay? What are you going to charge?
Yep.
How many customers are you going to get?
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea. We had no idea how many customers we're going to get. How much staff do you need? How much are you going to pay them? Your utilities, your heating, whatever. All your insurance. And so you need to figure out. And so how much money do I need to sustain myself for, say, whatever? Some certain period of time until you break even.
Exactly.
Right? Because when you first start, you may not have a lot of customers. And then once people see you and word of mouth, then whatever. But it varies greatly. But it's very.
We'll do a range. Do a minimum and a maximum.
I would say, if you're opening something small and if you don't need all this equipment, you probably need $50,000 just for let's say you're selling t-shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't need a lot of equipment. You need a desk. You need a thing. Whatever. You're going to buy some inventory, but you're going to want to have some cash to run the business.
Yeah.
You need at least $50,000. A gym like this, you better have $100,000 to $150,000 easy to launch and sustain yourself. Buy your equipment, do some renovations to the facility, and have operating funds so that you can operate for a period of time.
Yep. And I wish, what I want to portray to the audience too, which I think is super important, is the amount of work that it took you to get to that point. I think shouldn't be just grazed over. I think it should be, in order for you to get to this point where you're at, you need to bust your ass for the years and years and years that you did to be able to financially be able to support something like this. And to, and I think a lot of times people just think like, oh, I'm just going to save for the next 2 years and then, we'll just open it up, but I feel like that shouldn't be the mindset. It should be, I got to be financially stable myself, get myself to a point where I'm able to lose a little bit, be in the red for a little bit, and then kind of, like what they say is like eat shit for a while and then get yourself to a point where, do you agree with that, or do you think?
I would say probably myself and Diane are probably atypical. We're atypical business owners.
Yeah.
And the reason why we're atypical that way is that we both still have full-time jobs. Okay, and so we're different.
Yeah,
we're different from a typical. The majority of business owners do pour a lot of do what you say. They scrimp and save.
Yep.
They scrimp and save. They go just like we had to go to the landlord. They'll go to a bank.
Yeah.
And they'll sell their idea to a bank to get
The
initial
loan,
funding. To get initial funding.
Yep.
I was not personally in that situation, so that's kind of what makes me atypical, and also the fact that I have a full-time job.
Yep.
Doesn't really put my family at risk, but there is a certain amount of urgency.
Yeah.
And focus. That if I did not have a full-time job, then this has to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and there's not, that is an extremely strong motivator.
Yeah, absolutely.
For businesses. And so, I would say that we were a little different, but I think most people who end up starting businesses, it's all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that drives people to make sure that they succeed.
Yeah.
And so the hard work, it's like if this doesn't work, we're really going to be in the hole.
Yeah.
Or we're going to be financially in a very difficult place.
Yeah.
And so it motivates people to do the hard work.
Yeah.
And get them going. So I wouldn't say that you need to. I wouldn't say that you need to come with all the cash that you need to start a business.
Yeah.
But be prepared. Be prepared to if you're going to borrow money, which many people do.
Yeah.
That you're going to be you're going to be pushing really hard to make sure that you're successful.
Absolutely. And I feel like I know the answer to this question, but I want you to say it in your own words.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge of not starting the gym, but while it's open now, and now that the door's been open for a few weeks or a few months now, how long has it been? Has it been 8 weeks now? 10 weeks?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
12 weeks now. Wow. What has been the biggest challenge for you, would you say, in those 12 weeks, 3 months?
No, I think for anyone, for any new business, the number one challenge is really getting as many customers.
That's what I figured. Yeah.
Just getting as many customers as you can. I mean, in hindsight, I would say we probably had slightly overestimated. I won't say unrealistic, because we're not really far off, but maybe we had a little bit. Maybe our expectations for how many customers we were going to sign up over the summer.
Yeah.
Probably was a little aggressive. Mm-hmm. Because so many people are away.
Absolutely.
And people don't want to, they don't want to commit. And now we're seeing, now we're on the tail end of summer, and we're seeing some pickup.
Yeah.
We're seeing some more activity.
Yeah.
So it's really just all about customers. But I will say we did a good job. I feel like we did a good job with staff.
Yeah.
Folks like yourself, with all the operations, with the gym itself. That nothing else is really an issue.
Yeah.
The gym runs really great. The equipment's really great. I feel like we did a good job on that, and we can really just focus on getting our message out there, making sure people are aware, and trying to bring in as many people as possible to try to get our customer growth up. And we're pretty well. I think we're pretty well positioned for this month and September that I think are going to be pretty good months.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. That's so awesome. I love seeing it from a different perspective too. You know, I've seen the ins and outs of kind of what it's been like for you to really, you know, get this going, and it's been an honor to kind of sit and see the behind the scenes portion of it, because I've never really had that experience before, you know, and I think having that different perspective on it really changed my whole perspective on the entire field, and seeing how difficult and how much work it actually does take, you know, to get to this point. And it just increased that little bit of, you know, I wouldn't say effort out of me, but just that gene of just, I gotta, you know, crank it up a notch to really get to that point. So it's been awesome seeing that. Now, like I said, I say this every podcast, everybody. I have a lot of younger people who watch this podcast and are interested in who I bring on. And I just want you to give your best piece of advice, not just necessarily to a person who wants to own a gym, but an entrepreneur, you know, kid that's coming up through high school that doesn't want to work for somebody like you said, doesn't want to be the status quo businessman that works for this giant corporation, but wants to do something his own way. What's your number one piece of advice for that kid watching this?
Number one piece of advice for an entrepreneur is, I guess, the entrepreneur really does have to believe in themselves. You know, the other thing that I will say was atypical was really the strength of the team that we had. Like I said, Diane, my partner, and then yourself and Ryan and everyone. Sometimes being an entrepreneur, you know, if you're doing it by yourself, it can be lonely. And it's lonely and it's scary and it's a little risky. And so I would say, you know, believe in yourself, and what you can accomplish, because I think it's, you know, even us, you know, like sometimes we just stop and look. I said, we can't believe we actually created this place, you know. But it was totally feasible. The only other thing might be just talk to as many people as you can. Talk and communicate, get ideas, share ideas, be open about what you're trying to do, and there's a lot of good advice out there for whatever it is you're trying to do. Just talk to as many people as possible, because that all helps. That all helps inform what your decisions are going to be. And you know, there were a few. You know, we listened to a few people along the way and got ideas. You know, again from the team. We were lucky. Like I said, we've been really lucky with the team that we put together, because that in and of itself has dramatically. It honestly did. It changed. This gym would not have happened without the team that we put together. Without that, if it was just me and Diane, I think I don't think we would have tried it.
Absolutely.
But really the team we put together. So, you know, build a good team too. You know, if an entrepreneur, you know, doesn't have to be alone, they can build a good team.
Absolutely. Well, Dennis, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us and giving us some words of wisdom for, you know, the number of people that watch this that have this grand idea and this grand dream of opening up a gym, and kind of giving a different perspective, or a perspective from somebody who's fully in it and has experienced every experience that you can have in opening up a gym. I think you have a lot of knowledge that people can really, really benefit from. I hope, you know, we can sit down again and kind of pick your brain a little bit more, because I'm trying to be a sponge too. And like you're saying, you know, you need to have a team around, you need to learn, you need to be continuously learning all the time. And you're someone that I think a lot of people can benefit from. So I appreciate it, man. And, you know, I'm excited to see where this goes, and see what comes out of this.
It's only going up.
Always.
Only going up.
Always. Well, that's episode 7 or 8, one of the two. It's been too long. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Thank you. That was
awesome, buddy.
Awesome, man.
That was great.
Awesome.
That was great.
Ain't nobody doing it like us.